recognize and welcome. Here we go. Glad to recognize and welcome Barbara Smith Warner. I know she doesn't have a lot of time today. She's the executive director of the National Vote at Home Institute. We've had the opportunity to work with and do a full forum with her in the past, but we'll be talking about some of those issues today. And also, a point of personal privilege, my amazing sister and award-winning author, Judy Rakowski, has joined the thing. She comes to us from Cambridge, Mass, and she's part of a public interest firm there. So very glad to see them and the other individuals here. What we did, talking about Barbara, we got engaged in 2020 in the midst of the pandemic, saying what can we do is we're concerned about free and fair voting rights, and here's a true challenge. So we promoted voting by mail, and it turns out that in the midst of the pandemic, there was actually record voting, which we attribute goes entirely to our efforts. But no, but the people found that as a very positive option, and one that was obviously safe with the pandemic, but also an effectiveness that we saw was that it gave people the opportunity to have more time at home, sitting in their dining room table or whatever, to address the lower ballot issues, sometimes have more impact on their actual lives, school boards, county attorneys, but importantly, ballot initiatives, which a lot of us are engaged with, and people have more opportunity to be heard on those issues. So we had a very good experience there. We enjoyed working with Barbara and all of them since then. Very glad to report a quick update. Since that time, positive and negative, since that time, there are actually now across the country 9 states that are 100% vote by mail, which is remarkable, and it's up almost double from what it was a few years ago. On the other hand, if you notice, just yesterday, there are a lot of state legislators, and that's when we talk about gerrymandering and ballot initiatives, the state legislators are big on all of our minds. That there are a lot of states. Just yesterday, Utah signed a very restrictive, backward-looking voting rights bill into law. And so one of the things we're very blessed to have Fernando Bojorquez, our vice chairman, and Matt Zimmerman, because they, believe it or not, they know a little more about AI than Sarah and I do. And so our intention today is to show these concerns that and how do we as people who are trying to promote free and fair voting, how do we find an easy way through AI to access the information and activate what we've got? And so let me Barbara, is there anything you'd like to say right now, or would you like to, can we let the guys start and then you come back in, or what's your pleasure?
Yeah, I just thanks for having me here. I'll just kind of listen in and then try to hop back on if you want me to talk in more specifics about voting at home after as we move through the conversation.
Fantastic. I'd like to introduce Fernando. Fernando's got a presentation, and he and Matt have talked a little bit. And they are, while they're not only conversant with AI, but they're both very comfortable with it. So they're able to transmit that. So I'd like to swing it to at this point to Fernando and take it away.
Everybody. So the idea is just to start the conversation, uh, to kind of frame it around, how can we use AI? It's a really powerful tool. And how do we make sure that it's kind of a productive part of our day-to-day, and also organizationally, how we can implement it to power up all of our civic efforts and so on and so on. So kind of to get started, um, all of this is gonna center more around like ChatGPT, kind of those type of tools, where you basically, it works kind of like a question and answer. So you input something and then it responds with whatever it is. And kind of to use this as an effective tool, it's really important to make sure you ask in a very specific way and keep in mind that kind of AI, as smart as it seems, it's not a human. It's just generating a response based on the prompt, and it's kind of doing its best to kind of fill in the blanks and so on. But the more concrete you are in what you want, and kind of the way that you write your prompt, basically what you're typing into ChatGPT, the better responses you get. So these are some basic um, tips, basic advice. So you should be specific, you should provide context, you should provide step-by-step instructions, and then iterate and refine. So this works as in um, like the examples above. So you, for example, you want to write a social media post, you write very concretely, I want to write this post, this is the purpose, this is the context, and you give it steps. And then iteratively, you kind of get it to the right response by just communicating, saying, okay, I want to do this change, I want to do this update, I don't like the way that this is written, I want it more written in my kind of tone, and so on. I'm gonna skip the live demo, we'll just do something at the end. um, I'm just gonna keep going into basic tips and strategies. These are all kind of ways to work with the AI. Another common technique is called chain of thought. Um, Basically, for AI to understand and be able to give better responses for topics and questions that are more complex, it's good to have it detail out its decision-making process. So the more you can split it up into different steps, the better output you will get, because it's kind of like as it's writing and processing each of the steps, you're basically forcing the AI to take that into account as it's formulating its final response. So it's kind of quote unquote thinking. So this is a simple example. So you want to kind of add, you wanted to answer the response, how to improve, how to increase voter turnout in Texas. Um, for it to give a better response, you should break it down. So say step one, identify barriers. Step two, promote community strategies. Step three, write a message, and so on. So again, as I mentioned before, you have the AI follow a more structured logic rather than guessing. Uh, we'll kind of go through this later in the live example. Another common strategy is to use role-based prompts. So if you want the AI to provide um, a specific response, one that kind of meets your needs, as I mentioned before, it's good to provide context. A great way to provide context is by having AI serve a role. So an example is, say you want it to provide great policy summary, or you want it to answer and build, for example, like social media posts. You have it act out that role. So with the example of policy summary, you have it act out as if it is a policy analyst with a specific purpose. Because the AI now knows what role it's supposed to follow, kind of it will have the appropriate tone, detail, it'll have more clarity, and so on. Another example of this, again, this is just building on the core details mentioned at the beginning, is to again provide more context. You provide more context by providing examples. So for the AI to know what success is, you have to basically provide it. So an example is, okay, you wanted to write an email. You, as in the prompt, you include a few past emails, a few that you considered successful, and so on, and then it will take that formatting and take it into account for the email, making the output more likely to be successful. Um, AI is really good at following patterns. So again, kind of the more clear you make it, the more context you provide, the better responses you're going to get. It's really important for you and all of us to use it in a detailed in a very structured workflow, because it can be easy to use it as a crutch and to kind of not get the right results if you don't um, if you don't structure it correctly, kind of like in the right workflow. So again, like with the examples that I gave earlier, you have to have a clear idea of your goal. If you start working on and kind of thinking through this without defining your goal, you're never going to get the right response. So again, that's another example, but it's really important um, for you to build out your workflow. This is dependent on why you're using the AI. It's dependent on the specific use case and so on. But these are some of the key um, pieces to keep in mind. So as I mentioned before, it's key to have a defined goal, to use the right AI tools. So ChatGPT is an example, Perplexity is another. There are a bunch of different kind of AI tools available, pretty low cost, that could make you and your organization significantly more productive. A lot of these, or most of what I mentioned, a lot of the techniques transfer over. And again, you start with a strong prompt and then you continue to refine. It's a good idea to keep a prompt library for tasks that you do regularly, because it makes you more productive. Okay, so now we're gonna do the live demo. Before we jump onto it, does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, well, is Barbara still with us? While she's here, can we show a demonstration with for example, the number of states and vote by mail, or that's what you can do is demonstrations now, so we could see it.
Great. Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, good, 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 good. Do we have that map that you had, and then remember with the different colored states showing the state of play?
Right, right. I do not, I am not at my computer, so I can't share it. But
Okay.
if anybody wants to go to www.voteathome.org, I can kind of, you can find it easily there under our resources. Um, but yeah, so broadly, you can vote at home in every state in the country. The question is how easy or hard it
Right.
is. And there are 4 categories. As you mentioned at the beginning, there are 8 states in DC is how we say it, but indeed that's kind of 9 states that are universal
Okay.
vote at home, where everybody is automatic, all active registered voters are automatically mailed a ballot for every election. And then there are, on the other end of the spectrum, there are 13 states where you still need a specific legal excuse in order to get an absentee ballot. My favorite one of those being that in the state of Indiana, one of the reasons that you can use to get a mail ballot is if you are on the sex offender list. Which seems just as wacky as it sounds. And then in between, there are 29 states where you can get a ballot for any reason that you want. And in 9 of those, you can sign up for permanent absentee, or what we call single sign up. So that's kind of the range of how you vote at home in every state. And then we basically work to move states up that list. We try to get the excuse required states to no excuse, the no excuse to single sign up, and the single sign up to universal vote at home.
Hopefully, we're reaching some people to help in that. My question is, okay, you had one version, you had that map. With AI, is it possible, say, for a person in Kentucky to say, okay, what's the state of play in Kentucky? or what are both the state of play currently, and then what are the changes whenever the legislatures are in session, we all quake and crumble, right? But is AI a way for the individual person in a local group to oh, okay. There's okay, there Judy's got a good question. And but is there a way where AI can help people see what's happening in the states they care about? Can it take that map and pull up a list by category or something like that? I guess
Yep,
that for Barbara and for
definitely. Yeah, I was going to say if Matthew remembers, we kind of brainstormed on this on the different kinds of things. Like we even talked about, okay, could you come up with a list of states that have legislative sessions this year? When are their deadlines, and which
there
of
you
them,
go.
are no, are excuse required? So then you could kind of start with okay, out of those, how many have a have these people in the legislature or whatever it is. But yeah, we kind of talked through, there was a whole bunch of kind of different ways we could do it, and I will
So
try to look at
guys,
that question when we
Fernando
get
and Matt,
started.
can we is there any way we can give a little demonstration of that or what?
Hold on just a moment.
And Judy has a question we'll get to in a minute, but Judy asks
Mind
about
if
the
I jump in
executive.
here? Sure,
Go ahead.
we can definitely do a live search, which we'll be able to do with Fernando. I wanted to say one quick thing. Give me just a moment before we jump into that. So I really like that Judy posed a question in there, because similarly to the fact that we're going to do a live search, we want some creative juices to flow. So keeping that in mind, like what could a more accessible, trustworthy, and people-powered democracy look like with AI as a tool, not a threat? So we're not here to sell AI. It's, how can this tool be used to responsibly help us do the work we already care about, protecting voting rights and civic participation? And that can be through efficiency, reach, protection, and transparency. And it seems like there's some good questions already in the chat here. I did a quick search for Judy's question. I just took from the chat and put it in the chat GPT. So if someone would like an answer, or I can chat there, we can definitely.
I can give you. I watched that close enough. Trump does not have the power to change the national elections by law, and really requested in law is the states and the localities do the registration. That was performative, kind of a performative thing on his part. But still, just bringing that up, and then you come back to the question going back to 2020 when we started, was that who they never established in 100 court cases that there's a significant problem whatsoever with undocumented people voting, and so that would be the precursor, and that's never been proven. So it was a subject to talk about. I saw the experts like that great lawyer, I can't think of his name right now, who's got his own firm. He did a lot of the cases in 2020,
Mark
and
Elias.
thank you, thank you, thank you. He's amazing. He did. It was like 100. Trump lost 100 cases back then. He didn't stop him, did it? But so
Before,
that's and Barbara was good enough to furnish for Hamp the website there. That's a good resource and go from there. But I'm sorry, Matt. Go ahead and
sure,
you
no,
want to demo something?
no, I was just adding on to what you said. I was framing the question that Judy had asked in the context of AI. I asked the AI to ChatGPT to see what sort of answer we receive. It breaks it down with it's citing where it's pulling its information from. So it not only summarized it for us, but then it said the potential impacts, legal challenges, voter disenfranchisement, election administration, and federal state run relations. So it gives a summary of what it sees from that with citations, and then gives reactions from supporters' viewpoint and critics' perspectives. But then it also provides its sources at the end. So Judy, if that answers like the depth of what AI could help for a question like that, it'll give reactions plus potential impacts, and it'll cite all of its sources.
Do you have the ability to show us that? I like the quick motion. It turns me on. Do you have the ability to show that at all or no?
Would it be possible for me to share the screen, Fernando?
Yeah, of course.
Judy, by the way, Fernando is also a Michigander. And there's
So
Dre Samuelson.
can everyone see my screen where it should be showing that I'm sharing the screen on the left and then ChatGPT on the right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So Judy, I put in exactly, I just pulled it from the chat on what you asked, and it gives a summary with the potential impacts. And this is, of course, these can be opinion pieces, but it cites where it's bringing its logic for its opinion or its structure here. And then it even talks about specific reactions from supporters or critics, and then where it's gotten its overall sources. So
So, sorry, Matt, but how often does this update? Because already in New Hampshire, they are implementing the SAVE Act, where women have to prove that they have that their birth certificate name matches their current name, and in-person voting has required them to actually go home and find their marriage certificate. So I think it's great. This is all great, but is it going to help people in the moment, like when they're trying to register and vote? Because
I think so.
Well, you bring up
I really like
one,
that question.
but
And my answer to that is that things are going to be updated quite significant, quite often. And I would ask potentially Fernando on this for a more specific answer on how specifically it's updated. But you pose a great question, because that's what you could ask to ChatGPT. Say, hey, this is the situation. Here's what's happened. People are on the ground and this is happening. What sort of legal precedent do they have to fight back? Or what sort of strategies would you have if they're speaking to someone like ICE, or they're speaking to local authorities? You can ask it that and say, please provide examples for precedent or how I might structure an argument to push back.
Yeah, and then also add on to that, Judy. So as you can see, oh, I was gonna say as you can see, but if you looked at the sources, I think the earliest one, the latest one was 11 hours ago. So I mean, it's fetching the way that these LLMs work. It's like they're you could think of it as like a really smart assistant in a way that knows a ton. But a lot of these tools, again, it depends on the specific tool you're using, but they're also referencing Google. So it's
yeah.
like there's a really good assistant that can also Google and do research and use a bunch of other tools. So it should be up to date, again, depending on what you're using, and then also how well reported it is.
And Judy, I would comment, because you're in the East, and a lot of the states that are the 8+1, apart from DC, are in the West, because that's kind of the tradition. But the other thing is that with voted home, once you're on the list and you receive the ballot in the mail, then you're not subject to voting places being moved, to being harassed when you turned up to vote, to being there's these ID requirements. If you're on the list and you're able to receive it by mail already, and that doesn't change, although a lot of legislatures are trying to come back and limit that based on whether or not you voted. But if you're grandfathered in and you already get the ballot in the mail, you can avoid some of these instant things. But Barbara's right. A lot of these states are trying to change it, and so it really requires vigilance to maintain people's opportunity to be able to vote.
no, but I mean, it's already happening in New Hampshire. I was shocked to learn this the other day. It's pending in the House, it's moving along, and it's already happening in New Hampshire. Women sent home.
But is it going to actually pass or no?
It's in effect now.
Oh, I didn't know
Tried to
that.
vote, they had to go home and try to find some documentation to match their last name.
That's the opposite end of the Trump thing. The states can do ID requirements if we let them, and it's terrible. It's
No,
ridiculous.
this is already, somebody said it to me, and then I found a news clip, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Now
This is
that's why
this is
if
the people.
AI can help us keep track of these individual states, you can be in one place, and with AI, you can quickly have at your fingertips the current state. Because once those legislators are in session, or hold on to your wallet, right?
Yeah. And Judy, to jump back onto it, I don't know if you can see the screen still, but
Yeah.
it's bringing legal basis. And then you could say from there, not sure exactly how you'd phrase it, but say, help us build structure on how to push back on that, or put me in touch with the best resources, whether it's the ACLU or what other resources are out there, so that I can build build an argument to push back. And it should give you even more info based on how you refine it from there. So you see how it'll give
that's good info. That's incredible.
Messaging tactics, and then legal escalation protocol. Here's the protocol, and how to build it for press and public narrative strategy.
I'm impressed.
It opens it up at the end there, but you can refine it. You can say, okay, you've given me this info. Now please take this into account, and it'll update from there.
I like that, Dre.
I like it. It's good. Interesting. I would love to get a list of the points that you made at the beginning, Fernando. I thought that would be something I'd love to keep.
Yeah, of
Do
course.
we have a way to send that to him or make it available?
That with you.
What's that?
We can share that with you.
Okay, great.
Dre's been involved in a number of campaigns, and he's on our board and also voted home.
I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing just to jump back in, see what other questions people might have.
Anyway, you know that it's not so nice out here in New England. You have a lot more transparency out there and an ability to vote by mail. We have women that have to go home and get their marriage license.
Wow.
So no matter, I mean, AI or whatever, this is happening in real time. Sorry.
No, and we're wide open for people. And Barbara made that comment before that it is in fact the area that we consider liberal, but it's very difficult. Well, ballot initiatives in New Hampshire already were incredibly difficult. And Sarah knows more about some of that stuff, but no, you can't get a ballot initiative in New Hampshire, and a lot of the states, a lot of it goes back to the 13 original colonies, where it's built in the state constitutions that you can't have it. In Arizona, here's the hypocrisy. Arizona, we started with the permanent early voting list. You sign up, you're going to get it in the mail for the rest of your life. We said, well, we really were kidding about that. Now we have the active early voting list. So if you miss voting in two, thank you, Barbara, great minds. And if you don't vote in 2 elections, they automatically take you off the list. You have to totally start from scratch. Now they want to restrict it even further. So that's why if AI can help us keep track of these legislators and what's going on, then at least we have an opportunity to chime in, to try to make our voices heard, to at least raise an objection. Because other than that, I mean, Michigan, that's our origin with Katie, is the gerrymandering. But it takes a lot of effort we said that was about, governance by the voters, not the politicians. And so that's really what we're about, is trying to see that the voters are able to have their say, and the legislators in the dead of night don't sneak in something terrible and get a restrictive governor to sign it. And it looks like New Hampshire, they've, been able to sleaze in some really hateful stuff. Do you have any knowledge about that, Sarah, about that New Hampshire thing with the marriage license? What's that?
I know that that is something that's, I've heard talked about the federal level that was going to be proposed.
It's pending in the House. It's their trial balloon in New Hampshire. It's taking women's rights back to the 20s.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
I mean, it's sorry, but I don't mean to undermine the AI aspect, but this is a clear and present danger to voting rights.
So what you're talking about, Judy, is the intersection between what they're doing to women's rights in general and the voting rights, and putting those two together to bad effect, right?
Well, how long have we had the right to vote? Not that long, but this is really, really concerning. And I don't know what AI or whatever can do about it, but you could just see Jean Shaheen's not going to run again. They just say, oh, this is fine. It's working well in New Hampshire.
Right. No, and the People has a discussion groups in New Hampshire. That's why I asked Sarah, because she's been involved with that. I have not. But you can sit and talk about things, but unless you have the ability to pass a ballot initiative is the ultimate last word of the people. that if the politicians don't want to do something, you have the ability to put something on the ballot, which, even Ohio, Judy, where we come from originally, they were able to get that on and fight that constitutional amendment and the requirement that it be 60%. And so even Ohio was able to do that, Michigan, obviously. And so that's a lot. And we're part of a group called the Respect Voters Coalition, which is a lot of groups. Sarah knows more about that than I do, but it's a lot of grassroots groups that are really interested in having the ability to do ballot initiatives in their states. Correct, Sarah?
Mhm.
We have ballot initiatives in New England. They're not as easy to, we have a number of them. In fact, there's a millionaire's tax that passed in Massachusetts a year and a half ago that is funding a lot of good things. But it's just that right now there are things that are being tried, and we also have limited mail-in ballot rights in Massachusetts. Maybe Matt, you could grab whatever we have here because I'm sure Bernie's going to be out there talking about whatever the rights are in Vermont.
Sure. Yeah, but some of these are so childish. It's like, why should you have to give an excuse on why you get a ballot home and tell somebody that you're sick or you're not sick? What is their business? It's just ludicrous. Who made them our mommy? It's ridiculous, right?
There's not that much transparency in records at all in New England, you know.
Right.
Yeah, also Judy, I just wanted to add that kind of to that question, like how would AI help? Um, it's it's like maybe like a good way to think about it, kind of broad strokes, is kind of the problem is like a resource problem, right? It's a time, it's money, and it's people working on, making the change, trying to improve, you know, what's going on. Um, and AI, especially like this specific example of AI, like using LLMs, using like ChatGPT and so on, especially if you haven't used it before, makes the individuals significantly more productive. So again, it can do a lot, and maybe we could do an example if there's like maybe like a specific problem that you'd want to dig into. Maybe Matt could do a live demo
Well,
on
yeah,
kind of digging into it. But
Judy says, what's the state of play in Massachusetts? That's her specific question. What is the state of play in terms of mail-in ballot availability in the state of Massachusetts?
Okay.
Yeah, just
The
wanted to add it.
Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Excuse me.
We believe in the Commonwealth, which is something that has gone way out of style across the country.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people have been very sensational in how they talk about AI, as in like this is like the advent of the invention of railroads, as in like how much of an impact it's going to have. That's to be debated, but it's definitely a real difference maker in like the people who are using AI and the people who are not using AI. So like teaching, for example, the people that you're working with, how to use it to make change will significantly make a difference, specifically with people who are not kind of that comfortable with it or have never used it before, because it's very easy to get started. And it makes you, yeah, like significantly more productive, specifically with a ton of I think civic related tasks like doing research, kind of brainstorming, coming up with messaging, kind of a lot of that stuff.
One thing that impressed me about both Matt and Fernando in the past, and they haven't done it yet today, so I'm waiting, is we were sitting there and just all of a sudden, and it's different for me. All of a sudden, in a very conversational way, Matt's talking to the computer and this stuff is popping up, and it's like he's literally talking to another human being. But both these guys have that, not only the expertise, but the comfort level to just pop in there and say, okay, tell me what's going on in Massachusetts. And then the computer answers him back. So do you guys have the ability to show that a little bit? I just thought it was kind of cool.
Yes, I'm going to share my screen. I think this will be a good way to show how it can start on a very broad scope and become a lot more narrow. So I just asked it, what is the state of play in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for access to voting? And right away it gives us, it breaks down our answers. We have done this before for anyone who's kind of new to this. We had done this before and asked it to give us a table for all 50 states, not only for legislative sessions, but also what the state of affairs is for voting at home as well. So it was able to spit out a table, but I asked it in the most basic way. And now we have this, and I'm hoping this can start a discussion on, do we want to ask it something else? Do we want to see what it says if we reprompt it, or we have a different direction? So please, anyone shout out based on what you're seeing, or if you'd like me to scroll further. That's where can you still, is everyone still here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm
Well,
curious.
while we were talking, you just said that and spoke the question in there, and that popped up. Is that correct?
Yep. I just asked it, what is the state of play?
Okay. Recently implemented the enhanced voting accessibility.
This is
So
amazing.
is it improving? Is it improving, Judy?
Oh, I don't think there's a problem like there used to be that you had to come up with a certain excuse and you had to go certain days. No, it's much better.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Caveats is misspelled.
Things
You know I'm a professor. There we go.
That's cool.
Yeah, isn't that cool? me
Unbelievable.
like me like you. You like that, Trey?
source, and then
To me, this difference here is like going from digging in your library stacks to
Yeah,
Google. And now it's from going through the website until Matt's mouth bringing all this stuff to our availability.
crazy.
so if this piques anyone's interest on ways we could prompt it to become more narrow or widen the scope, I'd be happy to prompt that in real time as well.
And I think I'll throw out there as well as where, um, as Matt's kind of taking a look at some of the things that ChatGPT, that the AI that ChatGPT can do. One of the things that I think I found helpful as someone who knows nothing about AI is kind of having an eye towards like, oh, it can do that, and thinking about what are some like get the wheels turning. What are tools that maybe the people could put together that would be helpful using it? Or what are some of the, um, questions if we thought about like ways to, with the amount of like Mike mentioned, we've got quite a few, different ballot initiatives or local level kind of campaigns and stuff. Are there organizing tools that it can help build that kind of thing?
Well, I love this because I really wondered this. And now all of a sudden, boom, there it is in black and white, because if you don't know, then you assume that everybody's trying to screw us. So I'm glad to see that no significant changes reported. At least in those states, it's not a moving target, right?
That's right.
Oh, I love it. Now
You
you're
ask
talking.
it, Matt, can you ask it, what are the um, requirements across 50 states that are limiting access?
Restrictive requirements, in other words.
Yeah.
Oh, there goes Barbara. Barbara, thank you so much. We'll be in touch and talk to you later, okay? Happy birthday to your son. Oh, strategic partnerships. Did you see that one, Judy?
Mm-mm.
And the reform on that one, the last page, can you go back to that, Matt? It says strategic partnerships, and it shows the civic groups that are
Oh, that's
already in
cool.
there
Yeah.
working. Yeah, then you've got allies. That's very cool. ACLA and do ACB faith-based groups. I like that helps.
Faith and Public
Don't,
Life.
don't you think, Sarah? That helps our members there to show them potential allies in their state.
Yeah.
And based on state legislative actions, it'll break it down here.
Hey, New Hampshire,
There's New Hampshire.
proof of U.S. citizenship, but then that goes to the birth certificate, and that is it's much worse than it looks like there.
Oh, that's the connection. I got you. I understand now.
Because they make up this stuff about, I'm sure somebody comes in the country and the first thing they want to do is vote.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they're not going to feed their family. They want to vote for some white guy. That's why they walked across the desert to vote for some idiot white guy.
It's all good.
All right, Dre?
That's right.
Well, this is exciting to me.
Yeah.
I appreciate this, Matt. This is beyond what I was aware. I saw the quick little movements.
Wow, look at that.
What's this?
Look at that.
Yeah, you can use it to help not only understand the problem, like do the basic research, but also to come up with a plan and then to implement it to some extent.
Identify eligible plaintiffs. I like it.
Story collection.
Story collection. This is good. Now you're talking. This is good ammo, huh?
So you see, that's why I love doing it live for people like this, because we start wide, we focus in on the scope, and things happen.
Yeah.
Oh, what was that? Let New Hampshire vote. What was that? Can you go back a little bit?
Begin a let NH vote.
Begin. Okay.
So it even gives the idea on how the campaign could come across, and then from there we can say, all right, keep that structure, put it in a PDF for us to give out to everyone, and now move on to building graphics for the let NH vote, and give me 15 different graphics that I can export and change on my own, something like that.
Very cool.
But target mapping, and then draft a model resolution.
Do you guys do this? Have you taught campaigns how to use this stuff?
We ran a campaign this last summer, but we weren't doing AI at that time. But that's one of the things we want to do, is to see if we can help people or be a resource, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm about to be involved in a campaign in Nebraska for the Senate, and I can see where this would have real utility, but I wouldn't know how to use it very well, or even maybe
I worked with Matt all last year, and Matt's very good in not only knowing things, but in helping people catch on. So that was a good part of what he did.
It's about prompting. I think Fernando has this super technical expertise in all of it, and I enjoy prompting and thinking of unique solutions around. For example, even asking about this recently, it told me, "Hey, I can't."
One second. Goodbye, Judy. Talk to you later.
Bye, Judy. That basically, I can't give you this information because for X, Y, and Z reason, and I just prompted around it and said, "Could you please?" Please pretend it's a hypothetical? So there are always ways to get around it, and I think that's what's most important is understanding how to prompt it and even update it. Say it's giving this weeks 11 to 18 and all these week breakdowns, but say you get to week 4 and you haven't completed all of the phase 1. You can say, hey, could you please update this? We got to week 3 and we didn't make as much progress. Could you please realign this based on our delays? Something
amazing.
Well, so
amazing, Dre.
Yeah. So how did you guys learn all this?
Various workshops, tooling around with it. I have a lot of people that come to me asking how they can best use it. So I get a lot of case studies and a lot of volume on what it can actually do. Plus just general studying and reading on it all the time.
Yeah, and then on my side, I use it for work. And I've been using AI for a while, so I know how to use it kind of at a lot deeper level. But I think it's also important to emphasize that it's like getting started with this is very easy. It's, again, very user friendly. If you just think about it, okay, this is a really smart assistant that I have, and I ask it, talk to it in a very detailed, concrete fashion, you're gonna get great results, especially with the latest improvements. And then you just talk to it as if you were talking to to somebody else, to someone.
So is Chat
Fernando,
GPT?
down to a real basic level. Now, if you're sitting there and I don't have Chat GPT on my computer, how do I put that on there to be able to access it?
Go to their site.
You just download it or what?
You can download the ChatGPT app on web browser or on web or on mobile, or you can go to ChatGPT, just their website, and you can create an account. They do have free accounts, but it's not going to give you a depthy answer, and it'll cut you off after like 4 or 5. For about $20 a month, you can have unlimited access to it.
Yeah, I signed up for $60, I think, for a year, and it works. I mean, I don't know how to use it very well, but I can use it. It does things that I ask it to do.
Right.
I'm just not really adept the way that you guys obviously are.
Yeah. I'm impressed.
Is ChatGPT the best one for, I mean, I'm sort of hyper focused on campaigns. Is that the best one for a campaign, or are they all roughly about the same?
I would say yes for now. There's for 2 reasons. The main 3 that I've been operating with are ChatGPT, Claude, and Perplexity. Perplexity is a newer one that has been a little iffy at times. Claude is really great when it comes to writing style, but it's a closed system, so it'll never search the internet for you at all. Where ChatGPT will, if you have the Pro, it'll search the internet, and so I would say ChatGPT for now.
How about Apple AI?
Apple AI. Where have you encountered it? Is it really just like in a search bar, or is it a full app?
Well, I signed up for it for about $150, and I couldn't figure out how to access it, so I asked for my money back. But there is such a thing anyway. I got my money back.
Yeah.
I haven't used Apple AI.
What I would suggest is to just use ChatGPT Plus.
Yeah.
I think ChatGPT Plus right now does a good enough job. Unless you're looking, like if you're looking for something very specific, I mean, you can find it. But ChatGPT does a good enough job.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Yeah. Hey, Sarah, did you have some things? Hey, Tony, how you doing? Good to see you. We didn't say hi yet. Sarah, did you say you had some, before we had to sign off, did you say you had some comments you wanted to make at the end here?
Well, I just wanted to make sure that we kind of wrapped with this is sort of the launch of something we think could be really cool and sort of a project that's sitting within the voting rights committee. We're going to continue to want feedback on, like, to your point, Dre, what are the ways that campaigns, where it could be useful? Are there tools that, where we could do our Matt and Fernando do the magic, create a tool that then sits on the website everybody can access, or more individualized. Like, I think we're very much in the stages of how can this be most helpful, and that's
Right.
going to definitely need feedback from everybody and how they could
Well,
use.
what Matt was just showing impresses me. It's further. I wondered, but it'll show you not only what's going on, but then it literally gives you a strategy and potential allies and everything. I think it's a more powerful potential tool than I realized. I'm pretty excited.
In Dre, maybe just one more example to show the broad range that it can be used for. This is a lot of text-based stuff, but someone I was working with recently is opening up a new art gallery, and they wanted to know down to the inch where things could lie on the walls. And I said, we have a 7x7 wall. Here's how big the painting is. We need to have a plaque. Can you spit out a PDF with the dimensions? And it just spit it out for us, and I moved on,
Amazing. Well, so I asked earlier about if I could get those bullet points. How can I get that?
The bullet points from what I was sharing earlier.
Yeah, when I just tuned in, which I was 15 minutes late.
Well, I think he's talking about maybe what Fernando said and what you said, Matt. Is there a way we can email that to Dre or what? I'm not good on the technical.
Yeah, Fernando's is just a PowerPoint. I believe that we can
PowerPoint, yeah,
PDF. What I have, I can either copy it as a text, or I can ask it to put it in a document for me and send it over to you.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great.
Just also to highlight that you could use it to create pictures and videos.
Nice.
I was working on, just for fun, creating a community for people to work out together. So I just asked it to make this image, it made it pretty simply. I just told it, help me make a cover image for this. And then I was looking for a cover photo, so I told it to make a cover photo of people attending this event. And it made a pretty realistic picture. So this is something that nowadays, yeah, you could use it for marketing, you could use it for, yeah, to power up and to make a lot of these processes a lot quicker.
You guys, Dre just sent us his email address. He put it in the chat there for whoever's going to send him the what we talked about. DreSamuelson9@gmail.com, I believe it was.
Dre Samuelson 3.
Excuse me. Excuse me. May smell like Hampley the third. Did you have any questions that we didn't answer?
Oh, no, sir. This is great. I sure appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Glad to have you. Appreciate it.
Well, I have a
Tony,
hard
you
stop.
got it?
I have a hard stop now, so I'm gonna have to say goodbye. But this has been great. Really appreciate you guys giving us your time on this and knowledge.
Appreciate you being here. Hopefully we can keep in touch and keep the ball rolling. I learned a lot today.
Yeah, it's
Of
great.
course, I was starting off at the starting line, so
Well, so was I.